Hello, I'm Matt Polley, and this is my Cheltenham preview for the final day, day 4, the Friday of the meeting for the Cheltenham Festival 2021. But before we do that, obviously, we'll recap on what happened today, just go through our selections and what happened. So, the Marsh kicked us off. Envoy Allen was the horse on everybody's lips. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out, did it? He took a tumble quite early on in the race. Just a novice mistake, simple as that, really. In amongst a crowd of horses, and these things can happen, can't they? But it definitely detracted from the race. I think, regardless of where your money was, I think we want to see superstar horses, and I really wanted to see Envoy Allen win this and win this well, but that didn't happen. So that left Chantry House, the victor, and we said in the preview yesterday, didn't we, that he'd definitely benefit from the better ground. Third in the Supreme Novices last year, and he picked up the pieces. Dan Skelton tried to make a move mid-race. I think he thought his horse was his horse would run over 3 miles on soft ground, and I think he tried to use that to his advantage. But maybe that was a little bit gung ho from quite a long way out, and he eventually capitulated and paid the price, and that left the stable mate Fusel Raffles, who also apparently benefit from good ground to fill a runner-up spot, and a good run from Mysterian Falange, who had his jumping issues, but that was a perfectly good run, jumped well in the main, and will definitely be a player, probably on slightly softer ground. I think they just went a stride too quick for him. Jumped well, considering they went a gallop, but probably prefer softer conditions. So the Pertemps hurdle was, haven't seen the time, but not as rock and roll super fast as you'd normally expect in that race, and really quite a surprise that they didn't go a great gallop in that, and we had Spirit of the Games, which we thought we knew he'd be dropped in, and that was exactly the way he was ridden. But I just don't think the tempo of the race played into his hands, because, like I said, they didn't go an out and out gallop, and they were constantly quickening away from him just as he was trying to make ground. And the novice we also put up was Everglow, who, to be honest, now it looks like one to avoid. To be honest, he had the blinkers on for the first time, never travelled at any stage, and was very disappointing. We mentioned the Boss's Oscar, who was the top weight. He ran a blinder to finish third, but no joy there. Then we moved on to the Ryanair. Happy to admit, got this completely wrong. I thought the ground might be a bit too quick for Allaho. Certainly didn't prove that. He and Min went off very quick. I think arguably a tad quicker than Rachel Blackmore would have liked. But he's a great big horse with a long stride, and there's no point messing around with horses like that. So you might as well just drop your hands and let them roll. But just try and save as much as you can. And she sat quiet on him, and absolutely perfect. Jumped really well. Got a little bit tired over the last two, but I'm not surprised going that gallop. And another great ride from Rachel Blackmore. Mellon was very disappointing. Like we said, he finished a close-up second to Sandcrow, who looks a shadow of the horse he was after pulling up. Mellon, very disappointing. And Mr. Fisher, he was very, very keen over the first 3/4 of a mile. and a few jumping errors took its toll ultimately. He kept tabs on the front two, and he made some ground. He sat behind them coming down the hill, but I think those mistakes put pay to his chances, dropped his hind legs in the water. And when horses do that, you're never 100% sure whether they might have just aggravated something, in their back or their pelvis or something like that. But I mean, he ran well up to a point, but not to be. The Stayers Hurdle, another race that was dictated from the front. We mentioned Flooring Porter yesterday, didn't we? After the Coral Cup was running a similar manner, and we thought he'd be dangerous if let loose on the lead. I wouldn't say he was let loose, but he certainly didn't have any pace pressure, and it was a great ride. It was a great training performance. It was a great ride. Showed none of the quirks that he'd shown in a couple of races previously, and this horse has improved out of all recognition this year, and absolutely hats off. No fluke about it. Went a nice gallop, like I say. Didn't have anyone hassling in particular. I think Little Rockefeller sort of sat on his girth for a short while, but never really lit him up, and he could control the race as he wanted, and that was a good performance. Paisley Park looked outpaced on the ground. You could argue the same a little bit about Cider Burley. I think if the ground had been softer, I think it definitely would have benefited him. The Storyteller ran okay. He got outpaced as well. Maybe a good trial for the Grand National if he goes that route, although he's got a lot of weight, but I still think he'd run well in a Grand National. The Paddy Power Plate got this one wrong as well. The Shunter won the Moor Battle Hurdle at Kelso. 100 grand bonus to win any race at the Cheltenham Festival. They got it right, didn't they? Emmett Mullins, fantastic performance, fantastic decision to run in this race and not the County Hurdle or the other races he was entered in. Hats off. I mean, that takes some planning, it takes some doing to have the horses right for those days, and a good ride from the young lad, Jordan Gainford. What can you say about that? We had Farkless in that. He possibly would have benefited from slightly slower going as well, and he got held up a little bit on the turn for home, but he finished off strongly. But he was never going to beat the winner. It looked like he might for a few strides halfway up the running, but in actual fact, the winner actually probably went on a little bit again as well. So definitely no hard luck stories there. And the two JP also mentioned Sully, Doc, AA, and Dead Right never really featured. Just weren't up to it, were they? So we'll move on from there. The Mares Novice, another winner for Rachel Blackmore. She's riding so well. Well, she's been riding well for a very long time now. But this meeting has absolutely been set alight by Blackmore, and I mean, how well is she riding? It's unbelievable, isn't it? And I think that's her fifth winner of the meeting so far, and wow. I mean, we'll be talking about the Gold Cup in a moment, but she's obviously got a good chance in that as well, and this could be an absolute stellar festival for her. Last race today was the Foot Walwyn Kim Muir. Talking to Rachel Blackmore, she had a spill in this, didn't she, off Plan of Attack, one of our fancies. So that didn't go to plan, and then the horse I was very keen on, Musical Slave. Well, I don't really know. I'm not really sure what's going on with this horse. Again, jumped off at the back. Never put in the race with a serious chance. And I mean, he jumped okay, but he looked absolutely slow as a boat. He did, despite falling out of the back of the TV screen on more than one occasion, he did actually run on and finish about 8th or 9th, I think. But not quite sure what to make of him. I still think he's better than his current mark, and he will pop up one day. But I thought today was his day, but he just didn't do enough, did he? He just didn't feature. So very disappointing on that front. So we'll move on to the fourth and final day. Ground's still good, weather's still good, so that's something to bear in mind, which we have here. So we start off the final day with a Triumph Hurdle for juveniles. This looks a match-up between two British horses and two Irish horses, and as we know by now, the Irish have absolutely dominated the novice divisions, apart from Shishkin, and to be fair, pretty much most of the races. So we've got Quixilios and Zanahir for the Irish. Zanahir been a long-term fancy for this race. Both of these horses are unbeaten. Got obvious chances, haven't they? In the form that Henry de Bromhead and Rachel Blackmore are in, then as things progress during the meeting and you get a feel for the way things are going to go, I'd possibly argue that I'd take Quixilios out of those two based on the way that Rachel's riding and the Bromhead form. But having said that, it's going to be one of the two British horses that I side with here. The first British horse that's obviously got a chance is David Pipe's Adagio, but I think his performances have come with plenty of cut in the ground. So I just wonder whether he might be quick enough for this. So one of my bets of the fancies of the meet, and actually Tritonic of Alan King, who knows what it takes to win a Triumph. He's had a couple of winners of the race before, and some other horses run really well in this race. Tritonic was ultimately impressive in the end at Kempton, but this horse was a strong stayer over 1.5 miles on the flat, and you could argue that 2 miles on quick ground it'd be as sharp as he'd want, but he does have that touch of class. I mean, he did finish second in a decent 1.25 mile race on the flat on fast ground, so he's definitely not devoid of pace. And I just think that when you shake this horse up and you get into him, he finds a different gear, just like he did at Kempton, and I really like that about him. He's not keen, he'll just travel away, but I think he's the type of horse that when you say go, he has got that kick, and I think when the chips are down, I really expect this horse to find something. So it's definitely Tritonic for me. I think he was quite a classy flat horse, and I think he's definitely translated that to hurdles. So Tritonic for me in the Triumph. And the County Hurdle, another horse I really like in this. I'm not going to mention too many in this because it's a competitive handicap and lots of horses have a chance. First horse I'd like to mention is Edwardstone, who I thought this year would be. He was very immature last year, very keen, very hard horse to settle. Definitely benefited from having fast run races, big fields, fast run races, so you could bury him and get him to switch off. And I thought that he'd take to chasing. I just thought maybe the fences might make him back off a little bit and he might relax a bit more, but that didn't go to plan. So he was brought back hurdling, and this is exactly the type of race that would suit this horse. I can definitely see him finishing in the first 4 or 5, as long as they go a gallop. And the only thing that puts me off him a little bit is that he has run well in these types of races before, so the handicap has probably got his measure. So that leaves me with a strong fancy in Eclair de Beaufort. Now, Eclair de Beaufort was second in the Grand Annual last season off a chase mark of 149. He ran a really good race that time. He was in the Grand Annual again this season, but they've decided to come here to try and exploit his handicap hurdle mark, I think, which is a very tasty looking 135. He fell in a chase, in a Grade 2 chase, where he was Castle Grace Paddy beat A Plus Tard. It was over 2 miles, wouldn't have suited A Plus Tard at all, even though it was a shock he got beaten. And this horse was second favourite to win that race, Grade 2 chase, and then he fell, and then I think the plan was probably this race from then on. There's a couple of horses in this race, Drop the Anchor and Cade Boy. He arguably would have won a handicap hurdle win at the race that Advance Virgo won, where he looked to have every chance when he fell 2 out. And then he was really eye-catching in the... he was 6th in the Ladbrokes Hurdle in February off a mark of 135. He was held up, worked his way through the field and stayed on quite well to finish 6th, Dropped the Anchor, won that race. And he obviously is in the county hurdle again today, but that was really eye-catching run for me in the Ladbrokes from Eclair de Beaufort. He was ridden by an inexperienced jockey, and with Jack Kennedy back on board, I think this horse has got an absolutely outstanding chance in this county hurdle. Obviously quite a few other people like him as well, because I think he's currently 3rd favourite, so still double figure price, but I think a lot of other people have cottoned on to a lot of the things in his favour, so quite strong selections for the first 2 races in Tritonic and Eclair de Beaufort, so hopefully they'll get us off to a good start. The Albert Bartlett's a very tricky race. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this race. If I had to be nailed down to a selection, I'd go for Statler for Willie Mullins. Nice, great big horse. Definitely going to be a chaser in the making. Ran well last time, finished 3rd, got outpaced. But I think the better ground and the 3 mile trip will definitely be in his favour. So if I had to have a selection in that, that would be Statler. So that brings us on to the feature, arguably, of the entire meeting, the Gold Cup, where Alboon Photo bids to emulate Best Mate and be a triple Gold Cup winner. Gets a lot of negativity from people, from the general public, Alboon Photo, for obviously his lack of appearances, but that personally doesn't bother me. I mean, if I'd love to see this horse win a 3rd champion hurdle, and if that's the best route for the horse to get him to win, let's be honest, arguably the biggest race of the entire meeting. If not that, I mean, if you ask most jockeys which race they want to win, it's either the Gold Cup or the Grand National. So if that's what they have to do to get him to win this race, to get him in his prime to win this race, then so be it. And I actually think, personally, it's a tougher training performance to get a horse to run literally once in a year and then get him to peak to be his absolute best, to be absolutely spot on, prime fit, to win a race of this nature. And I think that's, a lot of people will moan that they don't see him, but I think it's a fabulous training performance from Mullins to get this horse to peak. Obviously, as he's prep at Tremor, but to get him to peak once a year in this race is, for me, that's a huge effort. So he goes there with an obvious chance. I think the ground won't be an issue to him. I think, he's a very, like most good horses, they go on most grounds, don't they? I think if it was soft, he'd have a chance, and the fact now that it's good, I think he's still got an outstanding chance. It's just a factor of whether you want to back him at around 9-4. And you certainly, I wouldn't want to be laying him, and you certainly couldn't rule out the 3rd victory, could you? But there's some competition particularly in Champ, who is another horse that we haven't seen much of this season, and I was really impressed with his comeback at Newbury over an adequate trip. Considering he hadn't jumped a fence in public since his RSL, the Brown Advisory, as was RSA, where he didn't jump well at all but still managed to win. I thought that was a sound performance jumping at that speed. He'll be able to take his time a little bit more in the Gold Cup tomorrow, and he's obviously had some issues with his wind because he's had 2 wind ups now, but I wouldn't look too much into that, and the better ground. Obviously, if you've got a horse with slight breathing apparatus issues, I think good ground will always be an advantage. So Champ's definitely got a chance. A Plus Tard, obviously, for Rachel Blackmore. Was he fortunate to win at Leopardstown over Christmas when Mellon, who run disappointingly today, who probably arguably had his best conditions today and run terribly, and Kemboy really took each other on at Leopardstown, didn't they? And arguably got very tired jumping the last, and A Plus Tard picked up the pieces. If you take, is that form good enough to win this? I'm not so sure. Kemboy's 20-25 to 1 shot to win this, and like I said, Mellon was very disappointing today. So it would be an amazing story if Rachel Blackmore won the Gold Cup and a champion hurdle and all the other victories she's had, but I think he's just going to fall short. A Plus Tard. So Champ has a good chance. I'd rule out A Plus Tard. The other mystery horse, if you like to, if there's the best way to describe him, is Royal Pagaille, who's absolutely stormed onto the scene over the winter. Now, this horse reminds me a little, not in stature or running style, but he's got a bit of the surnames about him in terms of, he won a handicap at Haydock off 135. Then I was so impressed with him at Kempton when he won off a mark of 140. So impressive that day. And then obviously went to Haydock, having been bumped up £16 and absolutely laughed at them. Never come off the bridle, absolutely canted round. He's bumped up another £10 for that, so he's gone up to 166, which obviously definitely makes him a Gold Cup contender. I think they'll have scratched their heads as to whether to run this horse or not. I'm absolutely sure. But we all know what horses are like and the things that can go wrong with horses, and I think if you don't take your chance when a horse is on a roll, and if you go by official ratings, he's definitely in there with a squeak, but there is a big but. The ground has dried out. All his form has been on soft or heavy. Flat tracks he's won on, so the undulations of Cheltenham are also an issue potentially, and he's got a very, very sort of French style of jumping, quite a flat, low style of jumping, and that would be enough for me to be put off of Royal Pagaille. If the heavens had opened, then I think he'd definitely have a squeak, but I think it's just gone against him. So really it boils down to, we haven't mentioned Native River, of course, who's another horse. Be a massive achievement to regain a Gold Cup after such a long time, but you can't help feeling the ground's gone against him as well. On the opposite side of that, Frodon, probably the ground's come in his favour, but does he really stay 3.25 miles? Possibly, if he got a soft lead or an unharried lead, but we know Native River's not going to let that happen. So as I said, this boils down to Alba and Photo and Champ. You know, it's very unoriginal, isn't it, going for Alboon Photo? But he ticks all the boxes. Absolutely ticks all the boxes. You can't really pick a hole in him, to be honest. And I can't see any reason why he can't win 3 Gold Cups. So I'll have to go for Alboon Photo, and I think Champ will definitely be on the scene. So that was the Gold Cup. Now we move on to what's normally known as the Amateurs Gold Cup, but not this year, sadly, due to COVID. So the professionals take over. And I don't want to, this is not a race I want to go into too much detail about, but if I had to choose a horse, I would go for It Came to Pass, last year's winner. Beat Bilway fair and square last year. Bilway's going to be the favourite in this race. Absolutely no reason why that should be reversed in my mind. It Came to Pass. It's fine on good ground. It was good to soft last year. Absolutely no reason why that form should be turned around. And I'd also like to mention a runner called Law of Gold for David Kemp, who I used to ride against in point to points in East Anglia a few years ago, and I'd love to see a big run from Law of Gold. So good luck to the Kemps. The Mayor's Chase, another brief preview of this. Ellie May's form behind Allaho looks seriously impressive now, doesn't it? Is there a worry about the ground? No, she's won on good ground in the past, so she's going to be a short price favourite. But Ellie May it has to be. And then we finish off nice little easy 2.5 mile handicap, the Martin Pope conditional hurdle. So we're bound to go out with a winner here. So let's talk about some horses in this. Obviously a few to look at. Langer Dan, Imperial Cup winner from Saturday, squeezes into this race. Lovely little horse. Really liked him at Sandown, but I can't help feeling the ground that day, which was absolutely attritional. It definitely played to his advantage. He's got quite an exaggerated action, and I think he just ploughed through that, and it's certainly going to be a different ball game today. So sadly, I'm going to look past him. 2 horses that I think will run well: Amour de Nuit, who I still think is reasonably well handicapped, but possibly not well handicapped enough to win. But I think he can run well, and he'll love the ground, the good ground. A horse I like even more than him is Mill Green of Nicky Henderson's. He's run well at the course twice. In his earlier days, he beat Eldorado Allen, who finished second in the Arkle. He beat him over hurdles when he was rated 1-3-4, and finished third to Dashel Drasher, now a Grade 1 winner. Finished third to him over hurdles as well. No miles on the clock. I think the ground will suit, and I think the way the race will, his run will suit, and he's definitely got a chance off a mark of 140. So those two, I think, have got a definite chance of getting in the frame. But my selection in this race is the ex-French horse, Gentleman de Me. Looks a perfect type for this, laid out for it, no doubt. Willie Mullins, I remember winning it a few years ago with Sir Deschamps, and Don Polley, I think, won it back in the day for the Mullins. So he knows what it takes, and Gentleman de Me looks. He had two runs in France on soft ground. He made all in a 2 mile race at Naas at 7-2 on. One in a canter. They obviously knew he was a smart horse. Probably that's why they purchased him in the first place, and he was obviously better than his rivals that day. He went off a very short price and won easily. He was a little bit keen that day, which would worry you slightly. Plus he's going up in trip, but they put a hood on, and I think that he's definitely worth a chance in here off a mark of 139, because he he could be a lot better than that, in my opinion. So that rounds up the last day selections. It's been a really good festival so far, particularly if you're Irish, and Rachel Blackmore has been absolutely sensational. So enjoy the last day, and good luck.